Hello everybody, we're Team 7486 Suffern Robotics from Suffern, New York. And today we're going to be presenting what we believe is one of our strongest fields, which is documentation. Our team has been around for 11 years, and we've won the Think Award countless times, being nominated at Worlds, and in fact we currently have a streak of winning it 4 times this season. So today we're going to give you some of our top tips and tricks that we've been using, so hopefully you guys can upgrade your documentation as well. So first we're going to be talking about managing your documentation. When you have a complicated robot, there's a lot of things going on, and as the person that's going to be recording the information, you want to make sure everything you're saying is accurate and portrays the robot correctly. So one of the biggest tips to do that is to make sure you have a clear documentation structure for who is doing what in terms of keeping track of the notebook. So in general, you're going to have your general team members who aren't specifically working on documentation, but they're still going to be involved with making sure that the notebook is made. Then they're going to report to the engineering notebook manager, who, as we'll describe later, will be really following the robot itself. And then the business notebook manager, who will keep track of everything besides the robot, including outreach, marketing, fundraising, and so on. And then make sure you have a head of documentation that can compile both sides of information and make sure nothing is left out. So, what do the general team members do in order to help contribute to the notebooks? Well, the biggest way to help is first of all just taking photos. Everyone on the team should have a phone, and as they're working in regular intervals, make sure you take out your phone, take photos of what you did, take photos of what other team members have done, and that is just a really simple thing you can do that goes a long way in making sure you have a high quality notebook. One of the biggest things when judges are going to be flipping through is they want to see the visuals. They're not going to have the time to read every word. So having nice photos that can stand out and clearly depict what you're trying to portray goes a long way. We've found that Google Photos is super helpful because it's free. It's really easy to use because you can have it on your computer, on your phone. You make it automatically upload through your phone. It's also all cloud-based, so you have no fear of losing any files and so on. And additionally, if you're a nonprofit, you can get unlimited storage, which is super helpful. Another thing you might want to consider if you're using Google Photos is you can try to make several different albums to help manage your different photos. So maybe you can have one for the engineering side of things, and you can have another album where you keep all of your outreach, and that's just going to help the documenters make their notebook very easily. So the next thing you want to do, besides just photos, you want to make sure you keep track of what the photos mean. So for that, we found that Google Sheets or any other spreadsheet system can be super key. So what we do is for every single day, we'll log what each member did that day. So at the end of the meeting, the team members will go to your computer, type in what they did, and it can really be just a sentence, but that goes a long way so that the documenters don't have to go around asking every single person what they did to try to figure out what's happening with the robot. And additionally, you can, in this document, include some photos sprinkled throughout so that it further helps clarify what people are saying and so on. And this is super helpful not only when you're working on the notebook in the moment, it's also a really good reference to go back and clearly see who's done what. And we use Google Sheets because, again, it's free, it's cloud-based, so you can't lose it, and it's really easy to work with.
So when you're considering how you want to do your notebook, the large debate is whether or not it should be a physical document or a digital document. Each option has its pros and cons, which we're going to run through. For a physical notebook, the pros are that it's more impressive to judge because it's handwritten and shows how much time and dedication has been put in. It's easy to insert hand drawings, which again are very impressive, and you cannot go back and edit the pages or reformat, so the mistakes that you make show growth and show that you're aware of what you're writing and you're paying attention to every detail. It's also easy to organize because it's all at your fingertips. However, only one person can work on it at a time, and if the notebook were to be lost or damaged, it's gone for good. The mistakes are also visible to judges, so any large mistakes will have to be crossed out and signed for, and there's a lot of work going into making it presentable. With the digital notebook, it's easy to fix mistakes in the moment as you're going, and it's also easy to reformat and organize your work when you realize that you need more space. You can also have multiple people working on the document at once because it's a cloud-based system, and this cloud-based system also means that you can't lose your work. If you do lose the notebook or were to have some sort of damage to it, it can be easily reprinted. However, with printing it, it comes with the costs of ink and paper, as well as making sure that you have access to a printer beforehand. It's also difficult to show how much work actually goes into it because it's all written, so it can be done somewhat quickly. This also doesn't reflect legitimacy because mistakes are edited out, and you can go back and edit pages if you wanted to. Dividing the notebooks is a really great way to keep your work organized and more accessible to judge. Every team is allowed 2 notebooks per season, so dividing it into business and engineering is an easy way to make your documentation more accessible to the judges. You can also mix and match the type of notebook that you have, considering what mediums will work best for their respective content.
So when you start your notebook, there are a few things that you always have to include. Putting the date on your notebook page shows continuity in your notebook because judges can see which day you did stuff and how you continued from previous tasks. And then including signatures shows legitimacy because people have to sign each page as it's finished, and it means that you can go back and edit it. Any unused space you have in your notebook you should cross out. This shows to the judges that you're not going back and filling in the pages with new information that you might not have had when you made the page. But you should try and make sure to not have unused spaces on your page. If you can, you should always try and fill it with a photo because this just looks more professional and interesting. So when you make a mistake, you should cross it out clearly and initial it. This shows that someone didn't go back and change your notebook after you finish the page. When writing a physical notebook, you should always consider who should be writing. For a physical notebook, you should try and include as many members as possible. The different handwriting of each team member shows to the judges that each team member is involved and that every team member is cooperating to create the robot. When writing in the notebook, you should make sure that it's legible. Perhaps practicing on another sheet beforehand can improve your handwriting and organization. You should also try and plan out each page before you make them. This just makes sure that your page is cohesive and makes sense. For our Suffern Robotics engineering notebook, there are a few things that we always include. So in the beginning of our notebook, we always document our robot plan. This is basically just us emphasizing which aspects of scoring in the game we want to focus on during the season and what areas are less important. Then we document our brainstorming, making sure to include as many ideas as possible. We include our prototypes, anything that we build to test our ideas. We always document all of our CAD models to describe how the robot has evolved throughout the year, as well as plan out our robot beforehand. And you should always document fabrication and programming the robot, and always make sure to emphasize revisions in your notebook. The judges want to see that you've improved your robot throughout the season and what you've done to improve it. So when documenting brainstorming, it's always useful to include hand drawings that describe how the design would actually function. On this page, basically we were just brainstorming an axle design for a robot. We demonstrated clearly what motions the objects would take when functioning on a robot, and we also described the parts of the design that make it functional. When describing each design, you should always include how practical it is to put on your robot. This could include how much it would cost, perhaps, if it's feasible within your time constraints. How would this impact your overall design? And would it interfere with any other parts on your robot? And then you should always map out how they will impact your assembly timing. So in the long term, how long will it take to build this part, and will it actually be useful? Throughout the notebook, if you're trying to demonstrate the functionality of a part, you should always use hand drawings because you can draw them from different perspectives and different positions, and this just shows how the part would actually function. When you're demonstrating the features of the part itself, CAD drawings are perfect because they're extremely accurate and they can show the dimensions of the part. The most important thing to include when documenting fabrication and assembly is progress. You want to show who's worked on what part and how far it's progressed in each day. You should also try and demonstrate how the individual pieces combine to form a working mechanism in the robot.
While the business notebook isn't encasing all the work that goes into the engineering process, it's still really important and really helps the judges see what your team has done and how you give back. There are some important features to include, such as a summary page giving a general idea of what the notebook includes, as well as a season plan which outlines your goals for this season for both outreach and engineering. Another key component is the strategy, how you hope to compete both on the field and when aggressively pursuing engineering firms and outreach opportunities. We also include team bios to help the judges get to know the members really quick, as well as pages describing our outreach, what we've done, how we've come in contact, and what we've learned. We also talk about our fundraising and finances to show how we've earned our money, as well as how we manage it to make it last throughout the season. We also include a section to describe our marketing to show the judges how we advertise our team. For formatting, we make sure to use a consistent font and color scheme to keep it visually appealing and easy to read. We also use navigation aids like table of contents, tabbed pages, and clear titles. While there is an 8-page tab limit, we try and keep 4 tab pages for our engineering notebook and 4 tab pages for our business notebook to have an even representation of what we do as a team.
Thank you guys so much for listening to our presentation today. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them now, and we'll be happy to answer them. Additionally, you can contact us through Instagram or Twitter at Suffern Robotics for any other questions or comments. Thank you, and have a nice day.